Much like his political journey, Pete Hegseth's personal life has been complicated. With 3 marriages, multiple affairs, and even serious allegations in the mix, it's been quite a story. Let's rewind to the beginning. Pete married his high school sweetheart, Meredith Schwarz, back in 2004. They were that picture-perfect couple from Forest Lake Area High School in Minnesota. Pete was a star athlete, and Meredith was on student council. Voted most likely to marry by classmates. Classic rom-com setup, right? And for a while, it really looked like the dream was coming true.
You know, things used to be a little simpler back in the day.
They tied the knot at the Grand Cathedral of St. Paul. But fairy tales sometimes have darker chapters. By 2009, the marriage was over. Pete admitted to multiple affairs, 5 to be exact, and that was the final straw. According to reports from sources close to the couple, Meredith was devastated. One person described it as emotional and psychological damage. They said Pete had gaslighted her throughout the marriage, all while the public saw them as this all-American power couple on the rise.
This is not okay. I own up to that, and I've had to own up to that, and that's been difficult.
Now here's where things get even messier. Around the time Meredith filed for divorce, Pete was already dating someone new, Samantha Deering. They'd met while he was working in D.C. at an organization called Vets for Freedom. He and Samantha married in 2010 and had 3 kids together. And then came 2017. While still married to Samantha, Pete had a daughter, Gwen, with Jennifer Rauchet, a Fox News executive producer. At the time, Jennifer was also married and a mom of 3. Both of them were working at Fox. She was producing Fox and Friends, the very show Pete co-hosted. When their relationship became public, the fallout was quick. Samantha filed for divorce shortly after. Around this time, Pete's own mother, Penelope Hegseth, sent him a harsh email that later got published by the New York Times. She called him an abuser of women and expressed deep disappointment in his behavior. She said she had no respect for a man who lies, cheats, and uses women. Heavy words from your own mom. Although she later walked it back and apologized, the damage was already done in the court of public opinion.
And I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent.
Fast forward to 2019. Pete married Jennifer Rauchet at Trump National Golf Club in New Jersey. It was a high-profile affair, with Donald Trump himself in attendance.
Perfect! It's perfect!
Together, Pete and Jennifer are raising a blended family of 7 kids. Pete regularly posts smiling family photos on Instagram, holidays, sports games, White House visits. In fact, all 7 children were there in January 2025 when Pete was sworn in as U.S. Secretary of Defense. But once again, controversy wasn't far behind. In late 2024, a police report surfaced from California, detailing an accusation against Hegseth dating back to 2017. A woman alleged that he had acted inappropriately toward her during a Republican women's conference in Monterey. She claimed she may have been drugged and assaulted. Pete denied the accusation, saying everything between them had been consensual. Ultimately, no charges were filed, but a confidential settlement of $50,000 was reportedly paid in 2020.
I did it to protect my wife, I did it to protect my family, and I did it to protect my job.
Jennifer publicly defended her husband on Instagram, posting, "They won't stop with Pete. It's not him they're after. It's your values."
Well, all they want is your name in the headline with that allegation.
And then, more questions, this time about security. Even though Jennifer doesn't hold any official government position, reports say she accompanied Pete to meetings with foreign military officials. According to the Wall Street Journal, these meetings involved sensitive discussions. Things got even stickier when the New York Times revealed Pete had accidentally added the Atlantic editor-in-chief to a secure group chat. And in another chat, he reportedly included Jennifer, where they discussed classified information, like missile flight schedules.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things.
In many ways, Pete followed in the footsteps of his boss, Donald Trump, 3 marriages, plenty of controversy, and a personal life as headline-worthy as his politics. And here's a juicy bit. He actually cheated on his first wife with the woman who would later become his second wife. And guess what? The boomerang effect hit hard. She allegedly cheated on him right back. Now, let's take a closer look back at this scandalous chapter in Trump's life. Donald met Ivana, née Ivana Zelnichkova, in 1976.
Lady Trump. I was first wife. Kill me. Okay. I don't know what is Melania problem. She just has to get over it.
She ended up in New York City for a modeling gig, and during a dinner with other models, Donald swooped in. He secured the group the best table in the place and joined them. Smooth move, right?
And I turned to my girlfriend and said, I have a good news and bad news. What is the good news? You're going to get a table real fast. What is the bad news? This fellow behind me is going to go and sit with us.
By Christmas, Donald asked her to go on vacation. They went to Aspen and had the most romantic time together. On New Year's Eve, Donald told her, "If you don't marry me, you'll ruin your life." Now that's the Trump we know. And despite having known each other for only a few months, Ivana agreed to marry him.
Donald always had a great head on his shoulder, and I saw the potential.
They tied the knot on April 9th, 1977 in New York City. And during their honeymoon in Mexico, Ivana became pregnant with their first child. On December 31, 1977, their son Donald Jr. was born. The couple went on to welcome 2 more children, Ivanka in 1981 and Eric in 1984. A picture-perfect marriage, right? But wait.
He did not know how to speak to them in the children way of thinking. So he was able to speak to them only when they came from university, when eventually he was able to speak business with them.
Yeah.
You know, but otherwise he really did not know how to handle the kids.
Donald and Ivana weren't just partners in marriage, but also in business.
And I was chief executive officer, and casino really did very well. It was the most profitable hotel casino in the United States.
However, their seemingly perfect marriage hit the rocks in 1989 when Ivana discovered Donald's affair with model Marla Maples.
Did you see warning signs?
I really didn't. I really didn't.
It all happened during the family's annual holiday trip to Aspen. Ivana ran into Maples outside a restaurant, with patrons and the rest of the family watching. Ivana wrote, "This young blonde woman approached me out of the blue and said, 'I'm Marla, and I love your husband. Do you?' I said, 'Get lost. I love my husband.' It was unladylike, but I was in shock."
We were actually standing near the restaurant, getting ready to put skis on. And I was standing there like an idiot. And Marla and Ivana were here. And there wasn't shouting, but you could obviously see there was some friction.
Turns out this affair had been going on for years.
Do you think unless the two had actually come face to face, you would have confronted that situation?
Well, it's interesting because it's possible that, maybe it would still be going on. I'm not sure.
The affair made headlines, and in March 1990, Ivana officially filed for divorce, resigning from the Trump Organization a few months later.
In my case, it was just so clear, and the trust was broken so badly that I knew that it was just no way it could be patched.
Maples and Donald continued to date on and off, and in 1993, she became pregnant with their first child. Their daughter Tiffany was born on October 13, which Maples later called the greatest unplanned surprise of all. Despite Donald previously saying he had no plans to get married again, the couple decided to tie the knot shortly after Tiffany's birth, on December 20th, 1993.
We really anticipated getting married and having a baby, not having a baby and getting married.
So why didn't you marry her right away when you found out she was pregnant? Why did you
Indecision.
The pair remained married for 3 years before separating in May 1997. Maples later explained the split, saying that they differed on how they viewed the world and how they wanted to raise their child.
So I think you always hope in a marriage that you can bring out the best in each other. But after many years, we realized we weren't.
However, rumors swirl that the real cause was Maples cheating on Trump with his bodyguard, who was caught with her on a deserted beach. Probably not just having a late-night stroll. But Maples have always denied the affair, of course. But it's not all bad blood. Despite their rocky past, Donald and Marla managed to mend fences. In a 2013 Oprah interview, Marla revealed, "I still love Donald. I love Eric, Ivanka, and Donnie so much." They even managed to share an Easter celebration in April 2023. Who knew divorce could come with a side of friendly get-togethers?
He's the father of my child. I do not want to ever speak negative about it. But do we agree on everything? Absolutely not. We would be married if we still agreed on everything.
But Ivana, who passed away in 2022, clearly wasn't ready to forgive and forget.
I don't want to talk about her. She's a showgirl, never achieved anything in her life.
In her 2017 memoir, Raising Trump, she didn't hold back, saying, "She actively participated in humiliating me in the media and indirectly put my kids at risk for months. I went through hell, and then I was expected to be okay with her being around my children?" Ivana's words reflected the deep hurt and betrayal she felt, a pain that her friends believe she never fully overcame. Well, who could blame Ivana?
He's free at the moment, isn't he? He's single.
Yes, he is.
Would you not like to get back together with him?
Nope.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, you would like to get back?
Nope.
So, with all this scandal and drama, who do you think was the true love of Trump's life? Let's discuss in the comments.